Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next Wasteless World Talks are here with Bill and Kevin and a new term. And this term is war or words. It can be both. So I will start with you, Bill. If you close your eyes and you hear this term, word, what came first to your mind?
The love affair that I am having with words. I love to play with words.
It's
Of course, it's much more than that. There's so much meaning, and in fact, we've been doing this, talking about nothing for the last 2 years, and all we're doing is playing with words. Not playing as in fooling around with, but investigating, trying to understand the deeper meanings of words. I don't think I'll ever fully understand about any single word, let alone all the words.
Kevin, the same for you. What you see
But I think words, there's two kinds of words. There's the spoken words, and then there's the written words. And the achievement in Sumer 5,000 years ago to take words and write them down, I think that's the greatest achievement in human history. By far our greatest achievement, to invent writing. The written word is the most wonderful gift we've given ourselves. And I think that even today, if you think about it, you can go to your local bookshop and for 10 euros, you can buy a masterpiece. How fantastic is that?
You know, I was just last week, I was in a first radio interview, and there was a lady who chaired the intellectual property office here in Czech Republic. We have been invited to talk about one topic. And one of the topics was as well Industry 5.0. And I touched the term robot because it was invented here and so on. And I said, isn't it a pity that a robot was not intellectually somehow protected when it's right now used all over the globe? And I will probably never forget her answer. She said, a robot is just a word. It cannot be protected. And this made me thought, and this was generally the reason why I set up today's topic. Because as you said, Kevin, generally it is one of the most valuable what we really have, get, whatever, how we call it, or create it. And we are not protecting it. I am not speaking about intellectual property, that's another topic. But shouldn't we protect them? Shouldn't we protect what was created for so many years? And you know, I checked how many words are globally used. About 20 million is the number which I have found, 20 plus minus something, whatever. So 20 million words. And you know how many has been hijacked just in our talks? How many we discovered there has been hijacked? So I think it's important.
I checked out, there is approximately 225,000 words in the English language. Which is, it sounds like a lot, and then it doesn't sound like a lot at the same time. You think an average novel is 80,000 words. So 225,000 is not that many.
You know what will be interesting? I know that in the Word you have the function count the words or count the letters. It will be interesting to see count the words which are unique.
Yeah.
But it's not there, so.
Actually, I found out an interesting thing, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but learning Russian, the most common letter in the Russian alphabet is O. In English, it is E. But that's where the easy bit ends, because most of the time a Russian O is actually pronounced as an A. But there is no guide. So words
and
can
there,
be extremely tricky.
and there's no protecting them. I'm thinking of the word protecting. Does that mean keeping it from changing, keeping it from getting hijacked? What
I think
I think
the second option, because you know the words are let's call it invented with a good intention to have some meaning which is given to them. And then when the word is good, someone came and changed the meaning in a way how he or she would like to have it. Industry 5.0 is a great example for that. And
but the meaning keeps changing.
yes,
We keep understanding the word better and using it in different applications so that it continues to change over time. So if you were protecting it, even protecting it from being hijacked, you are stopping that evolution.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just really thought, you know, we Czechs are good in inventing things. So we are crazy, we are inventors and so on. But we are not good in selling these inventions. So we keep it for us. We are good, we are satisfied. And you know, right now, especially the term robot, so it's everywhere. It's in every language is the same without any change. And still very few know that it's originated in Czech Republic. The author, Karel Čapek, has no intention to register or anything else. His intention was to give a word and connect it to a warning for the society on a global scale, which he delivered in his screenplay and book. So he will not patent it for sure, even if there exists this possibility, because he was a writer like you, he was an author. And for you and for me, as authors, it's important that the word is spreading. But I see in my world, if I keep it on Industry 5.0, how dangerous it can turn if someone take it, hijack it, and try to make out of it something different. So this is, I don't know how to protect it. I do not want it not to develop or evolve, but I would like to protect it against similar hijacking.
But in a way, it's interesting. You see how words evolve. I was thinking the other day about the difference between some Danish words and some English words. And I was thinking of the word television. In Danish, it means it's fjernsyn, which means far away vision. And I think, and this was really funny. And then someone said, well, what do you think television means? It is exactly the same. It is tele, far, vision, far away vision. And another favorite word is refrigerator. In both Danish and Russian, it translates as a cold cupboard, which makes far more sense than refrigerator, I think.
In fact, those words are, both of those words are so ubiquitous that they've lost meaning.
Yeah.
So if in fact refrigerator were cold cabinet, that has much more meaning. And television has lost all meaning. But faraway vision carries a lot of meaning. I like that. And how many other words do we have that we simply use the word? Especially labels. In the politics of today, we use labels without any thought or understanding of what that actually means.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. That makes me feel very stupid.
You
And
know,
you think the word,
sorry, Kevin.
I was just going to say, you think we've only been using the word television for about 90 years, but we've already lost where it came from.
You know, in Czech Republic, you can separate it in two words, tele and vision. Tele is is a young animal from which you make the beef. I don't know how it's called, cattle, or how it's called in English.
Cow or
Cow,
cattle. Or,
yes, young cow. And vision, vise is like vision. So, and if we make a joke, so what is televisa? It's a cow having a vision. This is how we play with it, with the terms. But I work for a refrigeration company 20 years ago. And the founder was very sensitive to words. And we use as a standard, we say to refrigerator, we say lednice, which is like ice storage, whatever, lednice. He said, no, forget this term. Lednice is a storage for ice, means a building in which ice was stored. But you have chladnička, which is a second word, which is something which makes things cooler, but it's not the original one. So he was protecting from his own, let's say, professional background. He explained to me, and I never forget this explanation, how it is in the real world. And it was of benefit for me because thanks to him, I have found a technology which can keep even in summer, technology is 1,000 years old, which can keep in summer ice under the surface of the ground, generally in a special shaped buildings. It can keep ice even in Sahara Desert as an ice in this stage. So, and I will probably not be able to learn about it without this knowledge which he hands over to me 30 years ago.
Bill, I have a question for you. As a refrigerator was an American invention, why is it a prefix, re, in refrigerator? Why is there a prefix?
well, almost as if it's we are refrigerating again. We are refrigerating. I don't know.
No, because
I don't know.
I wondered, shouldn't it just be called a refrigerator?
I was thinking about what preceded the refrigerator, and some homes, many homes in America had the icebox, and it was simply an insulated with a big latch on the front of it, and the iceman would come around once a week or perhaps more often and would chip off a chunk of ice. Quickly, you would carry that block of ice inside, put it in the ice box. But when I was growing up, a lot of people called it the icebox. They didn't call it the refrigerator, they called it the icebox. So now I have two understandings. A place where you put ice in there to keep things cold, and also refrigerator, which is to make cold. Okay. I wonder if there's a third meaning.
It's quite interesting because in the old days, you probably have not bought the food frozen. You bought the food and you freeze it. Today, you buy a frozen food and you refreeze it. The best without melting in the middle, but you know when. So, but today you refreeze. Before, you probably only freeze, not sure. And I cannot ask this man because he passed away a long time ago. So.
But it's interesting because we're talking about words that are less than 100 years old. And already we're not quite sure of the origin or the meaning. So imagine some of the words we have which are 300 or 400 years old. I mean, the original meaning must be so long gone. And we use them in a way that the people who used them when they were first invented wouldn't dream of.
I think even today, the new words invented a few years ago, already there are similar actions. So I don't know, emoji, emotions, and similar things. I think they are. I cannot right now, except of Industry 5.0, I don't know so generally, but I know that even a short time is enough to, you know, if marketing turn it into the term, he can turn any word into any meaning generally. Just pushing it with the power of money. pushing it in the TV, in the audio, everywhere as you can hear it, and then you just click and you see it in this way, which was pretended to be the original one, but it has probably nothing to do. I just wrote, when I was in the radio, there was the sign on air. And yesterday I have to write about it because it was so interesting. You know, on air originally was the live broadcasting, but today very few things are live broadcasted. So you are not on air, you are from one room to another, and still there is on air. And isn't it this on air like this Pavlov's dog, this instincts, put it on and your brain start to work differently? If it works, why we don't use it in a school? Why don't there is a red light, learn. And at the moment, everybody will learn. And there is the issue. If it will work like this, what we will do outside of the school? Will we miss the red light to be able to learn, to ask, to answer? Because if it's this reflex, I don't know, conditioned reflex, I think it's called in English, wouldn't we lose it? Wouldn't we lose our ability and then go one step further? If this is artificial intelligence, this red light, how fast it will take when we need 100 years to lose the word refrigeration, whatever at the beginning, 100 years. How will speed up the AI? The loss of meaning or original meaning, let's go.
Yeah, because there's two ways to look at it. One way is that the words, like Bill says, the words, they transform, they take on life, they take on new meaning. And the other way is to corrupt a word.
Right.
And I think we have to embrace the first and resist the second.
Yeah. You call it Abi for hijacking, but corrupting, it sounds even better, I think, because it's closer to what is going on. They cripple the word in a way that it means completely different thing. You know, I was 2 days before, I was in an event in Prague on one of the universities, and there was Industry 4.0 event. And, you know, I do not believe in coincidences, but this event was led by a man in his 80s, I will say, who was probably, or he called himself one of the founders of Industry 4.0. And he started his presentation with a letter, which I told you about, which his organization sent to German government to stop to use the term Industry 5.0 because it's misleading, because it's generally Industry 4.0, how it is being presented by European Commission. He was absolutely right. The great part about it, I spoke with him before his speech, just before. There has been few minutes. I introduced myself as the Industry 5.0 founder. He was so surprised. He said, it is not a European Commission word. I said, no, it's 6 years older and it has very different content. So he was surprised. He kept his presentation. He was a professional in doing the technology things in this grade. He did a lot of things, but he was truly surprised about it. So we exchanged the business cards. Let's see if they will be able to cooperate against the corruption of the term. Not sure, not sure. But right now I am in the middle of this process generally. So it's quite interesting that you name it this way.
So that would be an interesting conversation to have with him, whether or not there are words to describe certain technologies in Industry 4.0 that have become corrupted, that have been changed to put money in somebody's pocket to sell more of something. You know, so for example, the word computer. What did the word computer mean in 1975? I remember working on a computer, a large mainframe, and with the paper tapes, and you would roll that all up. You put a rubber band around it, and you would write on it. And then when you wanted to use that program again, you had to come in 15 minutes early and feed that into that teletype looking thing that which would read all the holes in that tape. So computer meant something very differently. And I'm reminded that the CEO of IBM was asked in the late 60s, early 70s, something, how many computers does the world need? And he said, he thought about it for a minute, and he said, probably about 3.
And he was right. He was right.
So what did computer mean, and what image comes to our mind now as compared to the image that would come to our mind, 50 years ago?
The original,
Many other different words as well. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the original computer was a job description. It was in Victorian.
A person who computes?
Yeah, in Victorian times, it was people who were good at mathematics were hired by banks to do complicated mathematics all day long. And their job was to be computers. So the original computer was a human occupation, not a machine.
So, but that's different now from what we're talking about, hijacking, because what the marketing people, and I pride myself, I have always prided myself on being a marketing person for 50 years. But when they take words like nature or natural and use it to sell processed food or to get people to do things that they would not otherwise do, to me that's a crime, because you're losing some honesty. Not only are you losing honesty, you are stealing the good words. The word nature is a great word, and it conjures up so many good feelings and understanding. But to make that into something that helps you sell more food that is not good for you is to me like a crime. It's a crime. Why can't they just call it a package of ultra processed food, which will please your mouth, but not the rest of your body, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of honesty, please.
I have a question to you as a marketing expert, Bill. Was there many, or was it frequently that you invented new term in the marketing, completely new word? Have you ever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and like your boss or somebody's giving a talk about some new concept, and they would say, and I call this razzmatazz. And so then the word razzmatazz becomes a word that other people use and starts to take on more complex meanings. But oh yes, in fact that makes it unique. That makes it something that you can claim.
And this is exactly why I am confused why they use the term nature. When they can create a new term, which with marketing tools, they can generally deliver the same feeling or similar.
They have to be forced into it. I was once working on a famous breakfast called Honey Loops, and then we had to come up with a new name for it because the EU said you can't call it Honey Loops if it doesn't have honey in it. So there is the creative process is normally has to be given impetus one way or another, and that's legally is usually the best way to do it.
So EU in this case protected the term honey.
Yeah, you can only call semic honey if it has honey in it, which is fair enough.
And in this country, you can only call something ice cream if in fact there is cream in it. So they call it frozen confection or something else.
But we see that there exists already protection. But again, there is a giant who says, but no, I don't like it for whatever reason. And he pushed for. So there already exists protection of some terms. And I don't speak about the terms which are covered by intellectual property rights and so on. So simple terms.
Are there any terms that are protected in this way that do not have to do with food or something that you ingest? So, for example, why is the word gun or rifle or pistol not protected in the same way? So, can we come up with a term for gun that means something that the army uses to protect the citizens or something like that? And if you use a gun for other purposes, it has a different name.
When I started with Industry 5.0, when I came with the term, first I checked whether it's existing. It was not existing, so I start to use it. And I go to the intellectual property office because I know some people there. And I ask them, can I protect it? And they say no. The explanation, it's too general. Industry is a general word. You cannot protect glasses. Glasses is too general. You can protect, as you describe, you can protect some special name when there is something special on it and so on. But you cannot protect too general things. Nature, ice, industry. But still there exists so-called author's right. And the author's right, when you have been the first one, you are the owner of the authors. There is no registration. You just have to prove that you was the right, or someone has to prove it for you. You know, I just received Academia Edu information that 100th paper was mentioning my name. So it was a nice whatever. So I input the term Industry 5.0 in the same search machine of this publisher. 713,000 hits. So slightly different number. Then I input MicroRada and it was 95,000 hits. So that I am only 100 times, something gets wrong in these counters, I don't know what, and I don't care. But it was quite interesting to find out.
So if you cannot
we
protect
cannot hear you,
the word,
Sorry, go on, Bill.
if we can't protect the word industry, but we can protect the word Industry 5.0 or no?
No.
Okay, so you can't protect it, but you can claim to be the founder. Okay.
And this is proved because there is so much papers already indicating that the first who named Industry 5.0 was Michael Rada on December 1st, 2015. So, and even my work, so it's much more easier to track right now in internet, in the volumes and so on. And Kevin, you would like to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as a vacuum cleaner. We called them hoovers.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. And there was no such thing as Scotch tape. I mean, that's what we call it, Scotch tape, not adhesive. So, or Kleenex, because it was the only one on the shelf. There were not 7 different varieties from different manufacturers.
And I guess that the author who invented the word robots, if he registered it at the time, he would have been able to own it. But as is now part of our language, you cannot
I will show you something. Generally, if you patent something, you have to ask for patenting before you write a single line about it. The patent application must be first. You cannot write an article and then patent. It will not work. but I did it different way. I publish first, and then somebody say, but you was the first. But I will show you something which I show to Bill, a book, which I have here today. In the year
1940.
It's generally 19 years younger than the term robot. But what is interesting, at the time, my granddad told me they did not have money to buy a book, so they buy single pages. And then someone put it together and make a book out of it. Because they did not have money, he was not from a rich family, so they cannot buy books. And he has all books by Karel Čapek and many others. So it was quite fascinating at the process, how a book was created. So what about your works and books? Will you right now consider to protect it? Because protection in some way means it will not reach so many because you protect it, maybe to get more money or whatever. Will you ever consider that? Because we spoke, why are you writing? And both of you said, I'm not writing for the readers. I'm writing because I have to write. I am exactly the same. So for this reason, I will not protect. But not to be misused, I will be happy or corrupted.
I think that these days there's so many conventions protecting books, but I think it needs to be, the protections need to be updated to take into account AI. Because I don't mind my books being in libraries. I think that's, a library is a fantastic idea. But I don't want my work scanned into an AI machine under any circumstances.
And you are not alone. There are already claims in the US and New York, I think New York Times and 2 writers. And just now somebody came additionally to that. So there are already people who are against, and there are official jurisdiction right now. It's in a court, I think, at the moment.
I don't write to get rich. I think probably very few writers actually get rich from the, but I write to explore ideas. And when I am finished with a chapter or a book or whatever, I understand the concept and all the intersecting concepts that go into it, so much more than when I started. And that allows me then to have discussions, perhaps like this one that we're having, that I would not have been able to have these sorts of discussions without exploring ideas in general and seeing where they lead and what they intersect with. So that's why I do it. So because of that reason, I don't care who talks about it. In fact, I'm honored that people would, even if they don't mention my name, if they would talk about the year 2030 and what are the shiny objects and the ripple effects from those shiny objects and the ethics that come off of it. I would be pleased to death if people would talk about that. So I don't need to protect it. I don't want to protect it. I want to expand on it.
There was in the noon discussion, there was Gao, who is an Industry 5.0 ambassador in Botswana, a young guy who moved from village to city. And I asked him, are there any words which you feel they have a different meaning in a village and in a city? So he just thought for a few seconds and he said, yes. The first which came to my mind is love. Because in a village, love is emotion, is something which is strong, which is really bind to a relation between two people or a relation to God, for example. But in a city, it's equal to sex. It generally has nothing to do with the original meaning, which I have learned in a village. So, and it can be even misused. You can be persecuted by saying someone "I love you" as a sex offender or so, and there must not be this type of meaning. So it was quite interesting point of view generally from his side.
I think one interesting thing about words is foreign words. So, for example, the German language has officially adopted the word shitstorm into German. And it says an awful lot about the original language and an awful lot about the German language. And in English, we now have the most delicious Russian word, kompromat. And that says so much about Russian society, but also about British society or English-speaking societies, that we have to have that word as well. It's so interesting what we can learn from each other by what we don't have and what we need.
You know, and just yesterday or today in the morning, the term shitstorm will probably arrive to Korea. I don't know whether you have read the news. There has been 200 balloons with shit sent from North Korea to South Korea with waste. I just read it just before we started. You know, that's unbelievable.
What was the purpose of sending the balloons?
Was not explained in the article, but the fact was that there was official warning against that. You know, it can be even dangerous things inside, so it can be viruses, whatever. So they really keep. Original article name was balloon sent to South Korea, Korea, and so on. So I was thinking thousands and thousands of 200. So, but you find it only if you read the article. And we have 2 minutes.
So words is a great topic, and there's so much more that we have not touched on. So much more. Words is how we create the future. We've said that before. Words. What if you didn't have words? What if your vocal cords, there was a problem with them, and so you could not speak and say words, and for some reason you couldn't write words. So then thoughts that you had just stayed in your head, I guess.
You know, there was one comment, I don't know who said it, whether Charita or someone else, and she said, but animals can speak as well. They don't use words, they just look at you, and even the plants, and you feel it. So this is I will call it the emotional language maybe, which is presented. So it exists, this way of communication exists, and we should not forget that the only part of a language which sounds in every language the same is the silence. And that's the fact. So because we are on the last minute, I would like to thank you, Bill and Kevin, for a great discussion, really. And I would like to wish you and everyone who is listening have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Be safe, free, be human, and please value every single word and don't waste it. Thanks a lot and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.